This was literally one of the worst interviews I've ever seen.
Y'all don't know what time it is. I got the Black V-Leg Council.
What's going on, y'all? We have got to talk about Travis Scott and Charlamagne the God's interview. Now, let me be clear. I'm not laughing at the situation. What I'm laughing at is Charlamagne literally was sitting there holding a piece of paper while interviewing Travis Scott, which is the most talked about story besides the January 6th situation of 2021. Like, we've been talking about Travis Scott like for a month now, and the whole ordeal, the whole thing that happened in Texas and Houston, and it's just like, there has not been any like person to really hold Travis Scott accountable as far as like an interview. And the first person he chooses to sit down and talk to is really a hype man on a radio show, Charlamagne. Now, don't get me wrong, Charlamagne the God is entertaining. He does the things to get folks clicked, to watch and all those things. But Charlamagne is not a professional interviewer. He is not someone who knows how to get people to answer specific questions. And this was beyond his capacity. Like, this was out of his level of expertise, and he should have bowed out gracefully. But sometimes people don't know how to bow out gracefully because it's like, this is the moment that I'm going to use for me and to grow my platform and all of that. So Charlamagne should have said no, but he said yes. And I'm watching the interview because I was like, girl, I'm going to watch all of it. I'm going to watch all of it. I literally was getting ready, watching it and listening to it. And Travis Scott and Charlamagne are sitting down in this dimly lit room. The color is contrasted to the point that it's kind of faded, so you can't really see too much. Travis Scott, like, he's kind of like, he's dressed up but not too dressy. And the questions that were being asked were questions that seemed like a lawyer approved of. Let's be clear. There's no way that Travis Scott did not know the questions that were being asked before they asked. Like, I guarantee you, they went through and said, yep, you can ask that, you can ask that, you can ask that, nope, can't ask that. I guarantee you, even Travis Scott's team, you know, gave some input on what questions, because Charlamagne the God is not a traditional journalist, and Charlamagne the God is really kind of like an influencer a little bit when it comes to this. Like, Charlamagne the God is on the radio, the Breakfast Club. They kind of like provide a platform to folks who are, you know, in the culture. Like, they are the folks, like the culture commentators who talk about like hip hop music and all this other stuff. And a lot of black folks respect them, even though their opinions are trash and they really haven't evolved more than just vote Democrat, vote blue, vote whatever. Like, that's what I get from the Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club is just this, the whole thing is just buy black, support black folks, black business, black capitalism will save us, all of these things. And it's just like, they don't really have a developed politic when it comes to, you know, things like this, like holding folks accountable. There was a real conversation about this, and Charlamagne the God only scratched the surface. Of course, Travis' team are having him not holding, like, being accountable, because it's just like, for him to admit that there was any wrongdoing would mean that the lawsuit is like real. Like, oh girl, he did admit that he did do wrong. First of all, Travis Scott threw a big concert, a big in the middle of a pandemic. I know we thinking we out of the pandemic. We're really not. Like, we really still are in this pandemic, to the point that we have Darius popping up, Omarion around her, doom, touching on everybody's lungs, and she's steady, you know, mutating and all that, because, you know, the U.S. government and other folks are holding on to vaccines that they don't need, also holding on to, you know, the licenses or whatever to be able to produce the vaccine, like, don't want to share the technology, all of these things. And it's like, if we don't vaccinate the whole world, girl, we still gonna be messed up. If we don't take care of everybody else and provide resources that we've stolen from these places, if we don't provide them with work and help them out, we all gonna be doomed. We all gonna be doomed. Lock how many folks you want to out the country, but girl, I guarantee you we still be doomed at the end of the day. So that was one thing. Like if Travis Scott really cared, big businesses do not care about people. Point blank. Period. I don't care how many times that big businesses put thank you on grocery bags and all this and that. They are here to pull a profit. So when Charlamagne the God is asking that, it's like, of course he's not going to say, oh yeah, like Travis Scott was completely at fault for this. He admitted it in so many ways and people can't connect it. It's just, he was saying that, oh, he wasn't told this, he didn't get this information, he was just as this, woe is me, Travis Scott, the same person who was sitting on top of a fan or a security guard, telling, like when somebody snatched his shoe to jump them and pushing somebody off the stage because they was interrupting his set. This is the same Travis Scott that doesn't know, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. I saw lights, I saw flashlights, but I didn't know. Travis Scott didn't have to know because he used to not knowing. And that's not everybody else's problem, that's Travis Scott's problem. You got on Instagram Live and you did, oh my God, like I just did, I'm sorry to the fans, I'm sorry to the fans. You are not these fans' friends. You do not care about them folks. You do not care about them folks. If you cared, you would have had more security. The question about, hey, there was a security guard who said he literally got hired over text message. That question wasn't raised. Like, was the staff not only hired, but were they trained and were they able to prevent something? Like, I listened to Travis Scott say, well, stuff like this happens, you know, you can't predict it, but that's the job. Like, firefighters are not out here just in case the fire is coming. They're here when the fire happens. I think in our society, especially the US, we are reactive. And I think that if we were proactive, it would be anti-capitalist, because if we provided and made sure all these things were done, we would be spending the money instead of waiting till it's a problem. Same thing with global warming and all this other stuff. We keep burning all this stuff. We keep knowing it's not doing well for the environment and all that, but it's just like, we need to make profits. We need to make profits, so we can't be proactive and stop doing this stuff and find something that will work, that won't kill us, won't destroy the planet, so we can't inhabit it. It's like, no, we're gonna be reactive. We're gonna be reactive. Well, you all need to stop doing this. You all need to stop doing this, instead of like stopping it where it's at. Travis Scott didn't take no accountability, because if he took accountability, he knew that these lawsuits would be legitimate. He's saying that, like, he didn't know. How are you sitting here in, this is your stuff, this is your name is on all of this. You don't get to have your name all plastered on all the stuff and then something like this happens and then it's not your fault. It wasn't like Travis Scott walked on the stage and the stage collapsed. It wasn't like the stage collapsed. It wasn't like he came out and it's, you know, whatever, something happened. It was your concert, all these people that you threw came in. You had people in here who should not have been here. They bum rushed in. You created an environment to make folks rage and do all this stuff, like to overreact and to pop and like chaos. And now people are dead behind it. That 8-year-old, that person, that child who died, should have never been there to begin with. This is the work. There's no amount of technology and making sure, oh, if you got the band on here that tells you what your heart rate and all that other stuff. How is that going to work when you got folks, you know your audience, you know your folks are doing all types of, you know, substances and drink. Like, girl, come on now. There's not enough technology to do any of that. There's not enough, Travis. Like, please, you encourage that type of behavior, and that's what happened. Like, that's what happened. Charlamagne was the wrong person for this interview. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Charlamagne literally with a piece of paper reading our questions. A real journalist would have been able to say, these are the questions I'm studying, I know what I'm going to ask, because this is stuff I feel. Like, this is the stuff that I want to know. But the reason why Charlamagne had that paper, because he could not go off script. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about accountability and getting it out. This is about restructuring and reclaiming Travis Scott's image. That's all that is. This is the beginning of restructuring Travis Scott and his image and make him, you know, he is not to blame for this. He is not like, he is just a lost, poor black boy who was trying to like have his fans have fun and all that, and something just happened. When we have received receipts after receipts of Travis Scott interacting with the crowd, being like an asshole to people and doing encouraging this type of behavior, tweeting and saying now it's like Travis is a God-fearing man. Oh girl, we love this. The same God-fearing man that was out here sitting on somebody's shoulder telling folks, jump that nigga, jump that nigga. Like, you the same God-fearing man. I literally hate when people say that. Anytime I'm a God-fearing man, I know it's to cover up some bull crap that they have done. Because if you feared God, if you feared whatever, you wouldn't have all these folks out here in a pandemic. You would have had 50,000 people. These people told you, like Charlamagne even asked the question, they told you to shut down and stuff. The show went on for 40 minutes, 40 more minutes. Y'all couldn't end it because it would look bad. That's point blank period. You couldn't end it because, you know, Apple did their thing, spent the money, it would have looked bad. So y'all had to milk it and milk it even more. Y'all had to. Y'all had to because they wanted to look bad. But now it's like, now you're seeing the campaign. How are you sitting here having, like, going to golf and doing all this stuff and kicking with folks after all these people that you did not care until it started to matter and mess with your pockets? Because that's what a lot of you celebrities do. Y'all are so disconnected. Y'all don't know the price of milk. Y'all don't know the price of eggs. Y'all don't know the price of gas. And the moment that something starts happening, you say, oh, okay, now y'all so far removed because you're not connected. If you cared about these fans and whatever, you would have not had them folks in here in the middle of a pandemic, and you also would have been charging them a shit ton of money to be a part of a concert. You're just here for profit. Y'all act as if y'all doing this for the fans. If you did it for the fans, you would do it enough to where it's not a profit. You're doing it for profit. Like, let's stop kidding ourselves. We want to see your show. Well, they want to see your show. I don't want to see your show, but they want to see your show. They want to see your show, so they're gonna spend the money to go to your show, and you're gonna make a profit off of it. Point blank, period. So now Travis Scott Astroworld is not responsible for everything that happened. Like, y'all are responsible. Needs to be checking balances. You need to be double checking, cross checking, triple checking. Because stuff like this this is like, there have been accidents and folks at concerts and stuff who fallen out, all that other stuff, but you need to talk to your team. You need to have a better team in place to have these folks together. Like, even other celebrities have said stuff like this in the past. Michael Jackson used to have fans falling out and stuff. They used to grab all of that. You, like Travis Scott, nobody's expecting you to be the person that's facilitating and pulling folks out the crowd. We're expecting you to have infrastructure in place to protect these people for when it does happen. But capitalism doesn't allow that. That's why you hire folks through text messages. That's why these folks have minimum training. That's why y'all have minimum safety guards. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to spend more money on stuff that might happen. We want to spend money on making the money. Like, what's going to bring us some money? We only spending money investing on in case it does happen. Because how many times have we seen stuff happen where people did not spend the money on it and something, like it was a hole and it failed, like it fell apart? The same situation with what happened in Florida with the condo collapsing. Like, people were not doing their jobs. People were not taking it serious because it's just like, why would we spend money fixing on all this? Why would we spend money when we can continue? It's not happening, it's not happening. And then we react to it. Instead of being proactive, hey, this stuff is going on. We need to get this fixed now, because if you would have brought it up as an issue, you would have had to move all these tenants out, find them housing, pay for all this stuff, and y'all don't want to lose money, because at the end of the day, it's about profits. And sometimes, like when it gambles, and you have to pay the piper, you have to pay the piper. And that's exactly what happened here. This stuff could have been prevented. You could have had people in place who were trained and ready for all of this, who could have stopped this as soon as it happened. Not just Travis Scott stopping the concert and making sure everybody was okay, but making sure that all the people that Travis Scott signed on, because I guarantee Travis Scott, and he signed on in some type of capacity, even if it was his business, even if it was his LLC or whatever, them people signed and agreed, like you signed and agreed to this. Ain't no way in the hell I'm throwing a whole concert and stuff, like I don't know what's going on with all this stuff. I don't understand. They got it, but your name is all on it. Your name is all on it. So when you put your name on stuff like that, you got to make sure everybody else is straight. Because that's your name on it. Y'all want to call it, oh, Astroworld, Travis Scott. But then when something big happens, it's like, oh no, I didn't do it. The company did it. They're responsible. No, girl, you are responsible. You are responsible. And for Charlamagne, to be asking these baby questions about, oh, people think you're demonic and all the other stuff, it's like, girl, are you serious? Like, there was some stuff that Travis Scott struggled to answer that Charlamagne could even catch him up on. That, like a trained journalist who is used to like asking these questions, like Robin, Diane Sawyer, all these other girls would have been on Travis Scott's ass. That's why Travis Scott didn't sit with these people, because they know they would have been feet to into their fire. You've been cooked. You would have been cooked. So I watched the whole interview. It's really not worth watching 50 minutes. Travis Scott doesn't sound like he's very smart, to be honest. He doesn't sound like he has any grasp of what happened to Steele. He just knows that he's losing money and it looks bad. But I don't see, and of course I feel like that he feels bad that people passed away, but I don't think that he has grasped it enough to the point that the next time something like this happens, we need to make sure that we're doing everything like to make sure everybody is okay. I think maybe the next concert, the next 2 concerts maybe, but I see this on down the road happening again, because it doesn't seem as though he's taking a full accountability. Like, hey, you know what? This mismanagement led to people losing their lives. Like, we got to get this. Now it's kind of like Travis is trying to make it, we got to make it safe for everybody, because this can happen to anybody. No, it happened at your concert. I mean, they're still having concerts, they still have Rolling Loud. There's no issue there. As far as like people like in a pandemic, but even, you know, Coachella's happening next year and they don't want you to be part of it, because you know that it's not giving. It's not giving. So if y'all watched the interview, tell what you thought about it, girl. What y'all think about the whole ordeal? I think it's tragic that I still think that Travis Scott still hasn't got a grasp on what happened, because there's not been any accountability. Every question about accountability, he kind of just deflects and just like, well, you know, this and that and all this in the collective. Instead of like, hey, you know, hey, like, but he can't do that because it will put blame and he would have to pay out his pockets. So it's giving protect pockets. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all later tonight. Bye.